Hello and welcome to the Brain Software Podcast, hailing from the Hypnotic World Epicenter, Toronto, Canada. This is episode 238, and today, hypnosis, NLP, and police trainer Mike Mandel and I are going to discuss what the heck people are afraid of. So stay tuned.
Disclaimer. Warning. Some things in this podcast are scary, but we really don't care because we know you can handle it. Lucci.
Hey, Scro. Glad you dropped by, Bag. I got some bad news for you. Really bad news. Scare ya? Just kidding, Pouch. But we are talking about fear today, so you've been warned. It's going to get bad, real bad. Scare ya? You forget I was just kidding, Scro? Anyway, I got one thing to say to you. Come to the edge.
It's too high!
Come to the edge.
We're scared! It's too high!
Come to the edge. And they came, and he pushed them, and they flew.
And why did they fly?
Because
these are days of victory. So welcome to the hypnotic edge of the razor, a man who has a wonderful friendship with ravens and crows, a man who's becoming a lean, mean Royal Marine, because he is the Keith Richards of hypnosis, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Mandel.
Show. Oh, this is great. I'm rocking this, buddy. Fear is an interesting topic.
This is going to be a good one. We're going to talk about fear. We're going to talk about getting over fear, maybe reframing fear, all kinds of things.
Even.
Yes.
Enjoying it.
Before we do that, let's just mention that this is going to be published, or whatever you call it. Yeah, I guess you publish a podcast. We're going to publish this podcast episode. It'll be just shy of the beginning of the Architecture of Hypnosis, which happens early in November. 5 days of live training in Toronto with us, the Architecture of Hypnosis. This man, the legend himself, he's freaking awesome. He makes learning hypnosis fun. You will have a blast. So we're pretty much
come to Toronto.
We have fewer than 10 spots left right now as we're recording this.
Fewer than 10 as we're recording.
Limited even more by the time this goes out. So anyway, MikeMandelHypnosis.com. If you take a look at the events link, you will see the Architecture of Hypnosis right there. You can come to Toronto. You can check it out. And let's do our think tank words
right on.
Then jump in.
And once again, because I'm at the cabin in the Great White North as we do this, I don't have access to the think tank. So who wants to bring a big plastic think tank up to their cabin? So instead I did it online with a random noun generator. And I'm going to read the three, then we're going to deconstruct these peckers. So the first one is river.
The
second one is vehicle.
Or vehicle.
And the third one is child.
I got it. Okay. Those are all three words that I know. I'm pretty confident. Well, river, okay. River, I think about current and flow, water flow.
Wow.
I think about moving from A to B. Something is in process of making a movement.
Nice.
Change.
A movement?
Yeah. Natural also. I think about natural water flow. Change can be easy. You can get from A to B. All you got to do is jump in that river and follow the current.
That's interesting. It will take you sort of like the Tao.
But at the same time, you can also have if you don't do anything, you're just going
you don't
wherever.
Need a river.
If you just jump in the river and you follow the current, you're just going wherever it takes you. You're not in control.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Not necessarily.
In fact, when we're working with hypnosis with clients, they have the river of time, which is their experience of their own temporal life.
I like it.
So we're dealing with the present, the future, the past, all with hypnosis, the river of time. I mean, that's great.
Oh, well, listen. Okay, so let's get to vehicle then, because interestingly, a very similar idea in my mind. I'm thinking about, are you the driver or are you the passenger?
Oh, man,
do you have
great.
control over where it goes?
And does it matter?
Or not?
Like if you're on if the vehicle is a train, a luxury train, you don't want to drive that pecker. You want it to take you wherever
And there are
engineer
things that even if you are the driver of whatever the vehicle is, there are things that you can control, i.e. what you do and your reaction to others. And there's things you can't control.
There's things you shouldn't control.
Everyone else.
747 crossing the ocean.
Oh, you're missing my point, though.
Seize the controls.
You can't control what other people are doing around you.
As you just couldn't contral me from saying
exactly.
That. Perfect example. What about child? Well,
that's something you can't control.
This is it. We all have an inner child. Mine erupts fairly frequently. In fact, almost
all the time.
Yeah. But a child brings that the wonder to a situation, the belief in magic, the belief in the possible. But children also have a lot of fear a lot of the time.
Oh, good point.
A very good point. So we're going to work these words into the podcast as we go. You will grow with us, and we will all face our fears head on.
All right, let's start it off.
Let me ask you, first of all, what are you scared of, Chris? That's the right answer. If you got to think about it.
Yeah, I'd have to really, nothing that I can think of right now.
Right. And that's often the case. Like when we're adults, we should have our lives pretty much together. But what about when you were a kid? What were you, I'm not asked you any of this. What were you afraid of when you were a child? There's a child, just use the word child.
I do remember lying in bed, as I often did as a child, going to bed, and you start thinking about things. And I remember being a young kid thinking about the idea of getting married. And that, for whatever reason, that freaked me out. And because I was a little kid, I know that people would get married, but I didn't see what the point of all that was. I hadn't even gone through puberty yet or anything, but I just wondered, this is a weird, why would someone do that? That sounds scary.
This is brilliant because you've now permitted me just exceptional comedy that only you will get.
Okay.
So there you are lying in bed and you're thinking as a child and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have a son. I'm going to name him John.
That's horrible. Okay, so there was that. Also, the concept of death.
Oh,
that one day I will die.
Yeah, you will. Maybe sooner than you
Whoa,
think.
that's freaky, And
well, it's funny, because it's not funny, but it's unusual. A friend of ours, Gregor, he was just in a horrendous motorcycle accident, as you know. He was stopping at a traffic light because the light was yellow. 85-year-old Dick behind him didn't notice, runs into him, and Gregor went off his bike and through the freaking windshield, ruptured spleen, brain damage, just about everything. Super nice guy. But he didn't see that coming. So the fear of death can be,
Well, that's going to create fear next time he gets on his bike, too, I would imagine.
Well, when I did was with experts. Remember, John and I did experts, and we used to create these false keynotes that were just made up. We did one for Consumers Gas, and I started it by saying, your fear of natural gas may be founded in fact, because every year furnaces explode and people die like crazy.
Your fear, nice presupposition there, implying that there is a fear.
It may be founded in fact. Now, what about as a kid? What else? Were you
I can tell you another one.
Were you scared of the dark? And then tell me the other one.
You know what? I don't have any memories of being afraid of the dark, specific memories. But trauma. Probably I was, because every kid is afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
I will tell you one that I remember, though, and it was swimming in an outdoor pool, West Park Pool, where I grew up in Dollar Des Moines, Montreal.
Yeah.
Montreal. I said that weird.
Yeah.
I was playing water polo with a bunch of people, and I was a great swimmer. I think I've told the story once on the podcast before. I was a great little kid, skinny kid, but fast swimmer. And I was getting the ball, and some bigger kid came from behind me to try to take the ball, but
down?
It felt like I was getting choked. He wasn't choking me. I did go underwater briefly, but I wasn't held down underwater or anything crazy.
Right.
But to a little kid like me, that felt like I was drowning, and I was afraid of choking.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And you know what? I think I figured this out also probably years ago. We discussed this on the podcast. When I was older than that, I hated, even though they were in style, turtlenecks.
Oh, yeah. I feel like
hated them. I felt like it was neck restriction. And that, when I realized that that's what it was coming from, that was my initial sensitizing event. All of a sudden, turtlenecks don't bother me anymore.
Yeah. Now, that's interesting because you said water polo. You know I'm not a strong swimmer.
I know, yeah.
And I don't really care. But I actually tried water polo when I was young.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but my horse drowned. Comic genius.
That's brutal. So what about you? What were you afraid of?
Remember, let me tell you about let's talk about the dark for a minute. I was really scared of the dark as a kid. And we lived in a spooky house at 58 Woodington Avenue across from school. And that's where the saxophone disappeared, the kazoo, and all these weird stuff. There's a bad vibe to that place. I mean, it was very odd. And the dark scared me. And you know what I did? I decided I was going to frickin' own the dark.
Yeah.
And when I was a young teenager, well, 12, 13 really, I used to sneak out of my window in our apartment. We're on the ground floor. Open the window at like 3 a.m. I'd do the Sioux Indian water clock. Drink a bunch of water before going to bed. Your bladder wakes you up.
Oh, that way you're guaranteed to wake up at 3.
My parents are in the next room asleep. I climb out my window and just go out into the dark, like through people's yards and stuff, creepy crawling the neighborhood like Charles Manson, but without the murder. And I got over it.
That's hilarious.
I embraced the dark.
Yeah,
now.
you owned it.
I own the freaking dark. Now,
you were afraid of dentists.
Oh, shut up. We'll get there.
Yeah.
What are your scariest memories?
Oh, one, actually, I can think of one right now. When I was about maybe 12 or 13, my best friend Chris Jaguar and I, we lived in an area of a suburb of Ottawa, city of Nepean. And we backed onto some train tracks and fields. And we loved to go just climb over the fence. We were great fence climbers, spiky or anything. Didn't matter. We could hop any fence. And we would go exploring in the woods and the field and stuff. And we came across what looked like somebody's hangout or something. There was no one there. We kept walking. We didn't touch anybody's stuff. And the next thing you know, there are these older kids. They're maybe 2 grades older than us. And they're waving us down saying, "Where's our beer?" And we're like 12 or 13 or maybe 14 max. We've never had a beer in our life. Wouldn't know, where's your beer? Yeah. What are you talking about? These are like 16-year-old kids, right? And they think that we have stolen their stuff somehow. And one guy takes his shirt off and he's like approaching us. And he comes up to me, grabs me, opens my jean jacket pocket, steals a penknife out of it, like he's confiscating it. He gave it back to me after. But we had slingshots with us, and Chris backs off, like runs away, fake pulls back. He had no ammunition loaded, but he freaked the guy out. Anyway, we ended up getting out of the situation, but I thought these guys were going to beat the crap out of us, and I was just this little boy.
See, now you'd welcome that kind of thing happening. I mean, you absolutely would.
Oh, now I have the skills, not only the physical, but the mental.
Of course.
And I'd mess with them, and then mess with them verbally, and then if it still got somewhere, it's freaking, it's on.
It's on, man. Yeah. It's on. And when it's on with us, with our Brit Jiu-Jitsu training, we're both instructors. When it's on, it's not on for long. All right, now look, scary memories. Well, we'll get to freaking Dr. Roach. But remember bullying. You and I have talked about this. We're not going to go on. I was bullied immensely, numerous times. I just posted in our Facebook group. I said, "Thank you, public school bullies.
I remember.
Made me into a bad
that
guy."
was a reframe.
I got so many responses from that.
Yeah, speaking of reframes, we'll come back to that. But the idea of reframing the thing that, this bad thing happened to you. You were bullied, and now it become a superpower.
That's right.
Right.
It made me stronger.
Yeah.
And the key is not to then replicate the behavior and go and bully someone else, which often happens. People replicate it. It makes them feel powerful. Interestingly, the Corinthia, I told you, 1957, we came to Canada on the HMS Corinthia, whatever, and we were in the tail of a hurricane in the North Atlantic in the fall. My mom, my sister, and I. And the feeling of being out of control was anchored at that point. And it's part of Enneagram 8 thing. We want to be in control, not out of control. So that's why I never go on like amusement park rides or anything.
Because you're not in control,
right? And, fast things. I'm always afraid my neck's gonna get damaged. I don't mind things like giant Ferris wheels and stuff. I don't mind those, or even the swings. Just on a freaking swing. And if you want to scare yourself, go on YouTube and look at amusement park rides gone wrong. People flying 200 feet and crashing. I mean, it's really scary.
That is not something that sounds good.
That stuff scared me as a kid. But there was a horrible, horrible one at an amusement park. The Canadian National Exhibition is a huge exhibition.
Yeah.
They had a ride called the Magic Carpet. And in the front of it was this woman, made a robot woman, her arms hanging in a dress, and her hair hung over her face. And as you have to walk by her, it's like a fun house. She's going,
That's not going to scare anybody. It scared
the crap out of me. My sister was 7 years older than me. She started crying because I did. They got us out through it, opened a bolted door and got us out. Now I want to go back and just axe hand that stupid laughing lady.
That's so funny.
Neck
we
cranker.
are going to get to some important stuff that actually is how to deal with it.
We're talking about a wide variety of fears. What about night terrors? The horrible feeling of bad dreams, but there's a suffocating aspect to it. When I was 5, 6, I remember this continuous dream. I'd never remember the content. I would always feel like I was being crushed, though, and always wake up crying. He's smiling.
Yeah.
Those of you listening, he just smiled when I talked about being a 5-year-old crying. Also, let's talk about this for a sec. I told you Dr. Roach, my dentist, he had a cane. I think he had Parkinson's. His hands were like this.
The needle would be coming.
Oh, yeah, like this. He would drill into a secondary molar with no anesthetic, right into the pulp. And you just have to hold the nurse's hands. I was catatonic. I was in such freaking agony. You can't make this stuff up.
And he could have given you anesthetic.
Oh, he could have. But back then, it was $3 for a filling and $5 for an extraction.
Oh.
You give nitrous oxides, you feel like you're suffocating. But what made it scary was his attempts to soften the fear did not work.
Yeah.
Because the door to the dental room, from the dental surgery from the lobby, had painted on it, hand-painted, the enchanted forest, all these weird gnomes and stuff. And there was a second little door you go through as a kid into it. And you walk through, and then all of a sudden there's the freaking dentist chair and the nitrous oxide. It's like a bait and switch. Just terrifying, terrifying. I want to ask you, though, we're flying through this. We are going to get to some solid content. What about TV shows as a kid? Scare you?
Oh, you know what? You just made me realize this. Not TV shows, but horror movies. Certain kids loved horror movies. I freaking hated them. They scared the daylights out of me. I refused to watch horror movies. I remember this one scene. I can't remember what it was, but it was one of the classic horror movies that when I was a kid, and there was this guy, and he's working on his motorbike, and it's like upside down, or maybe he's not. I don't know. It's on a stand or something, and he's revving the engine, and he's checking it, and all's good. And the camera's coming from behind him.
Of course, something horrible's going to happen.
And he's got, for whatever ridiculous reason, the guy's wearing a scarf, and somebody comes from behind, takes the scarf, and throws it into the wheel as he's revving the engine, and it chokes him, right? And
that's very creative.
It's like this weirdest,
very creative
murder scene ever.
Well, I saw the movie The Haunting when I was a kid, which was based on the Shirley Jackson book, The Haunting of Hill House. And what made that so freaking brilliantly terrifying? It's black and white. It's very well shot. It's still creepy, but you never see anything. Everything is in your imagination.
Yeah.
There's noises and stuff. And the human
your
mind
imagination can scare
the best special effects.
Well, fear is all imagination, which we're going to get
much.
to. Yeah.
Now, we had 3 TV shows scared me: Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, Alfred Hitchcock Show. I won't go into the details. They all scared me. But here's the thing. The funniest one on this is in England, I had a cousin, Chris Drennan, great guy. I haven't seen him in many years. He was about 6 years older than me. And there was a TV show in Britain called Quatermass.
Okay.
The Quatermass Experiment. It was a sci-fi thing, and I just remember these pits of this seething stuff, terrifying. And Chris, he had really good grades, and then his grades started to crash. And the teachers called his parents in, the headmaster. We're very worried about Christopher. His grades are crashing. And she said, his mom, my Aunt Frida, said, well, why is that? He said, well, he said that you make him stay up and watch Quatermass every night, and he can't sleep. She said, make him watch it. He just bloody well sees 20 seconds before I can turn it off. And that was it. But he turned it into, he's forced to watch this every night. He just pointed at me. I wasn't.
Yeah, I'm pointing at you because I noticed that you're not talking into the microphone anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when The Exorcist
You're going to have to
out,
adjust the position to that.
All right, there you go. Exorcist came out. It's funny now. It wasn't then. I saw it with Sandy Fisher, who I thought was pretty hot when I worked at Bell Canada. More about that some other time. But we were actually holding hands in the movie theater. I was like 20, 21. It was so freaking terrifying. People fainting and stuff. All the suggestion that this was going to happen. Of course, Psycho, classic one. The knife, the shower. I really didn't take a shower for about a year after that. But let's talk about kids, because kids are susceptible to fear. Why? Because kids are so suggestible.
Kids have great imagination, too.
Great imaginations. And we invented many, many scary games. The 2 I remember most of all were Tomb of the Dead. Tomb of the Dead was in the apartment building. We used to turn off the light in the downstairs recreation room. Nothing in there, no furniture. And I'd get across the room with one tiny flashlight on my face. And the kids would come in one at a time, and I'd call them forward one at a time. And I'd say, why did you enter the Tomb of the Dead? And they say, I wanted to. Why did you enter the Tomb of the Dead? Now they're getting antsy. And I'd say, I've lost something. Will you help me find it? He said, what is it? I said, my mind. I'm going crazy. They're, right. I mean, when you're kids, it's fantastic. We, in fact, at McLean's Animal Hospital, we used to lock each other in the animal cages in the basement.
It's a good thing you never had children.
Oh, I know. It was awful, wasn't it?
But keep the exposure to a minimum.
But when you're kids, you enjoy being scared to a point. Mm-hmm. That's why scary movies are popular.
It's because it's safe. It's just you realize at an unconscious level that it is just imagination. It's not a real situation. But when it gets too imaginatively real feeling, then it's really scary.
Which was the problem when I tried to play Mr. Floyd. This came up at the cabin.
It's not funny anymore.
This came up about a week and a half ago. They were asking about it.
Mr. Floyd. This is my favorite.
Mr. Floyd. I was the nice teacher, retired teacher, Mr. Floyd. The kids come to see me every morning. Hi, Mr. Floyd. We're on our way to school. Oh, what kind of day is it going to be? I'd flip a coin. It's either going to be a good day, a good night, or it's going to be a bad night. And if it's a bad night, as soon as school's over, they have to rush over. And I give them really complex instructions. I need 2 sticks, the exact same length, a red-colored stone. No, they're frantically. And they have a set period of time to find it before I turn into evil Mr. Floyd and try to kill them. So it would always be engineered that just as they have the last item and are rushing back towards me, I'd bring me the items just as it's barely time the sun's going in.
Too late, yeah.
Too late. Now, here's the thing. I only told a couple of kids about the game. We were going to play it. We never played it. And they got all freaked out. And this was up at the cabin about 10 years ago. And one said, will anyone else be playing it? I said, yes, 3 other people. Do we know them? I said, one of them you've met, 2 of them you've never met. And they're looking around. They said, well, where are they now? I said, 2 of them are in the woods watching, and 1 is under the tarp in the boat down there waiting for me to chase you down there. They all freaked. They had to be taken home. I got in so much freaking trouble. They said, you shouldn't play games like that with kids. I said, we never even played it. All I did was talk about the freaking game.
Describe it. Oh.
Yeah, my wife says, Mike, you're a hypnotist.
This is why I say, yeah, good thing you never had kids.
Now, what about inborn fears? Talking about kids. What are the 2 fears we're born with, Chris? Do you know?
Falling.
Yes. Ding, correct.
Loud noises.
Yes, sudden loud noises and fear of falling. Well done. Ding, full marks for Chris. Now, all the others are acquired. And if you have fears that you're living with on an ongoing basis, like ongoing anxieties, you're putting an adrenaline trickle in your system, which is like rust. It's really bad for your system. Adrenaline is to save your life if you're attacked in a dark alley or attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. It's not just to have saber-tooth is the word. I mean, not saber-tooth. But you don't on a regular basis to be having adrenaline trickle and cortisol building up in your bloodstream. So it's a good idea to deal with this stuff. Now, here's the good news. Phobias. For years, people thought you just have to live with it, or they'd try that progressive desensitization. You're scared of a spider, so you start by looking at pictures
Hold
of spiders,
a little bit closer.
and you relax and breathe, and then they bring it a bit closer. It's great when it works, but sometimes it actually re-anchors it, makes it stronger. But remember, Chris, I had altocellulophobia, the fear of the high ceilings. I was crippled by it, but the thing that was weird is the people I call the resistors.
Oh, yes. Once you told everybody on a forum one time, hey, I used to have this. I solved it. Here's how I solved it. Nothing for sale.
No, it just said.
Just want to give you some
I can give
insight.
you a protocol. You can get a therapist to run this for you. You're just trying to rip us off. Altocellulophobia cannot be cured. I said, I had it. My family will tell you. I had it for years. He's just trying to sell us stuff and get us to join his organization. Newsflash.
You didn't even drop a link or anything.
I didn't mention it. Anyway, one guy
wrote
to me.
You didn't even mention our academy or anything.
Nothing.
I saw your post.
They Googled me and found
people are
it.
upset. It's like,
he's just trying to rip us off.
all right, well, if you
enjoy your
prefer
phobia,
believing that you can keep it forever, you can.
Enjoy your freaking phobia. Anyway, if you have a phobia or if you have anxiety, find a good hypnotherapist, somebody who specializes in phobias or anxieties. You can be absolutely free of this. I probably help people overcome over 100 phobias in my life. And as far as I know, not one of them has ever come back.
Well, they
you
don't
rewrite it.
They don't tend to come back because if you rewire the neural network that was responsible for that, and that new neural network starts firing, the problem's gone.
Yeah,
it's like moving. You don't wake up and, I'm in the old house again. No. Just thought of that.
I'm back at 58 Whittington.
Whoa, I woke up.
Scary again.
How did I get back to that? How did I get back to that neighborhood in Dollar Days Ormo by West Park Pool?
Yeah,
where the kid tried to choke me in water polo.
Choking, yeah.
No, I've moved. I live here now. I'm always going to wake up here.
Well,
yeah,
that's right. As long as nothing goes horribly wrong.
As long as my neighbor is not Mr. Floyd.
People when I was a kid just by doing that Twilight Zone is kind of.
I mean, I suppose if I went to sleep in a riverboat.
Yeah, you said river.
I know.
I used the word. It's fantastic.
And I could end up somewhere different, or some other vehicle other than a boat.
You've done it again. Very good. See, that's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Oh, that's great.
So if you suffer panic attacks, I just want to show you a thing you can do right away. And I've taught this to clients. I did not come up with this. We did one on anxiety. It went viral, little video. And it was even picked up by a newspaper in India.
Oh, the Jinsen Jitsu
Yeah,
thing.
Jinsen Jitsu. People asking, does this work? And a naturopath said, yes. He said, there's a pressure point for relieving anxiety in the thumb. Now, if you have ongoing anxiety, what if, oh no, what if, worrying, clasp your thumb of either hand, hold it without gripping too tight, and eventually you'll feel a pulse, within seconds or a minute, in both the hand grasping and the other. When you feel that pulse, just keep holding on. That starts to open the meridian in this Japanese system, and you'll start to feel better. You can do this in a doctor's office, waiting for an appointment. If you have Dr. Roach, he's going to come in with Parkinson's and the freaking needle and go right into the pulp, and you can sit there and be relaxed before it happens. Now, what if it's a panic attack? Panic attack is not prefrontal cortex, right? It's not cortex driven. It is driven by what?
It is driven by the amygdala.
Correct. Almost a doctor, this guy. That kind of stuff. Something happens. Oh, no, I can't get hold of home. What's happening? You start to panic. I'm supposed to hear from them. I haven't heard. Or I just got bad news. Person left me a message like my brother-in-law years ago. Phones are home. We get in late at night from the opera. There's a message. Well, I guess you heard what happened, and it's pretty bad, and we're all going to try to get through this together. What happened? We didn't say what it was. There's a lot of swearing. Now, if you get a panic attack, not the thumb, the first finger, either hand, grasp, wait for the pulse, hold on. And as the pulse goes, so your panic will start to fade. Do this. It works.
I need to mention this. Okay, so I was going to make a joke and say, are you only repeating this because the last time we did it, it went viral? And just for some context here, we often will put these podcasts out, and then people on our team will go through and go, oh, that's a good 2-minute snippet. Let's throw that on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And so our team put that thumb grab one, and that's the video that went viral. Now, in the context of a podcast, Mike and I interrupt each other all the time. Now, for this clip, it was great, is they zoomed in on you, and you could see me there a little bit, and I'm talking a bit. And the comments on TikTok are so funny. It's like, wish that other guy would just shut up.
He was part of the frame originally, So
I'm in the anyway.
Clearly, this is traumatizing.
This is hilarious. So you can notice that I was very quiet when you were explaining that.
Very good. So Jin Shinjitsu, yes. The 6-step tapping, my variant on all these energetic tapping systems, center of the top of your head. In fact, guys, if you have anxiety, here's the thing you can do from Chinese medicine to greatly reduce it. Now, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm not going to say that this can change your life. But you cup your hand and tap in the very center of the very top of your head, not the front, not the center, with the cupped part of your hand. Tap it about 50 times, crisply. And just do that through the day. When you remember, go away, tap it again. This depotentiates anxiety in Chinese medicine, which makes it the foundation of my 6-step tapping. Top of the center of the head, center of the forehead, outer corner of the eye, under either eye, under the edge of the collarbone on either side. Squeeze the wrist, take a deep breath, Robert Smith's method. Exhale and say peace, which re-anchors you. You feel anxious, you feel panic. How bad is it out of 10? Oh, it's a 5 out of 10. Can you make it worse? Yeah, it's an 8 now. All right. This anxiety, let go of this pain, this stress. Just go through the 6 points. What is it now? Oh, it's a 1. Do it again. How often do you do it? How many times do you do it?
Until it's gone.
Duh. Oh, I feel a bit better. No, get rid of that pecker. You don't need it in your mind. Well, nobody needs a pecker in their mind for that matter.
I got a quick question for you. What is the opposite of, because if the thumb is for fear, what's the opposite of fear? When the fear is gone, what do you have?
Booze?
Maybe. Would you say something like calm or, and there's a reason I'm asking you this.
Okay, well, let's say calm, because you're talking about backfilling?
No, well, we could, but remember how I mentioned accidentally, I just discovered that when I'm doing power napping and self-hypnosis, I always take my left hand and I grab loosely my right thumb.
Grasp.
And I can put that in my lap or on a chair or anything, and that to me is my comfortable napping position.
You say, how can I be grasping my thumb in both my hands? Yeah. Okay.
So that is my napping position. And obviously, if you shut off fear and you end up with calm, also the opposite of anxiety.
Repose, serenity.
I go to sleep so easily power napping with this.
Don't do it now.
So there you go.
That's good. Chris, teach 7-Eleven breathing. I think
7-Eleven breathing.
Great way of reducing anxiety.
7-Eleven just sounds easy because there's, what do you call the 7-Eleven is a dépanneur, right? As they would say in Quebec. But a shop, what do you call it? A
store? Milk store.
One of those.
Like a Becker's.
Yeah, one of those types of convenience store. That's freaking word I'm looking for. 7-Eleven is convenient to remember because it's a convenience store that everyone knows the name of.
No, that's
How
hilarious.
Convenient.
But realize in England, the convenience is the washroom, specifically the commode. My Uncle Brian used to go into someone's house or somewhere and say, where's the convenience?
So if you go to a convenience store, you're just expecting a whole bunch of washrooms or something. Or water closets.
They say up in the north of England, that's the problem with you people down there in the south. You come up here, you two, and you treat this house like a bloody convenience.
That's hilarious. So convenience store, 7-Eleven. The idea is that you're going to breathe in for 7 and exhale for 11. Yeah. But there's so many variations. Some people call it box breathing. You could call it breathe in for short and breathe out for long. I don't care what you call it. But the idea is if you spend substantially more time doing the exhale than the inhale, you're going to spend more time activating your parasympathetic nervous system rather than your sympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic, inhale, parasympathetic, exhale. It's more calming. So you breathe in, or I think Dr. Andrew Huberman teaches like a two.
Yeah, I want to know about that. I read about it.
He talks about that. It's the same idea in my mind. I don't know what the 2 sniff in breathing thing does.
Maybe it's just got a great sense of
humor.
Maybe
it just looks more hilarious. But either way, it maps across to the same pattern, right? You're spending little time breathing in. You're spending more time exhaling. If you do this for a minute, you will notice
start to calm
big
yourself immediately
calming
because your
effect.
blood pressure
Yeah.
will drop, and also your heart rate will
Yeah.
drop as well. Now, the other thing is, the sniff thing like that, if you're sniffing cocaine, it's not going to work because
I would imagine,
you're not
or really
calming down.
anything
We do not
other than
recommend that.
air.
Walking with Grace and Power. Let's end with this one. Walking with Grace and Power comes from
Let's
NLP
teach
New
this,
Code
yeah.
that I'm a trainer in. What you do is, and this is specifically for dealing with different issues, but I found a useful method. I said whiff.
You can use this for fear. You can use this for anything where you
Use
would
it
have
to get in a
performed
powerful
better.
state. Yeah, that's
to
it.
collapse a negative state or just get into a really good state. Pay close attention. This is gold.
So if you're walking, you want to get in a good state, pace up and down, swing your arms, try different things that makes the walk feel more resourceful.
Breathe.
Look from side to side. Breathe deeply. Extend your arms. Take longer strides or shorter ones. And when you feel you're in a powerful state, anchor it. Say, walking with grace and power. And then what happens is, as soon as you snap into that, you'll be in a resourceful state. If I had a key meeting, I had one in Boston a number of years ago. I parked some distance away and then got out of my car and said, walking with grace and power, and just walked, breathing, feeling the power, went into the meeting in a very powerful state. So if you're feeling negative, if you're feeling fear or anxiety, panic attacks, walking with grace and power, the deep, smooth breathing at the same time will make you feel so much better, which leads us to the empowering questions that you're going to do. Actually, I'm going to do it because you got the Meta 5 today.
Oh, yeah.
Here, my friends, are your empowering questions brought to you by Mr. Floyd. Scare ya? Okay, here we go. Empowering question is, what are you really afraid of? In light of the fact that most things that we fear or worry about never actually happen. And how will you sacrifice your fear on the altar of grace and power?
Fantastic. I love those empowering questions. All right, so here is your metaphor, which we call a Meta 5 because it's better than a metaphor. It's called Chris, baseball, and the difference.
Yeah, man.
The difference that makes the difference. So I moved to this small town 9 years ago. Started playing in a softball league, men's softball. It's actually called lob ball because the pitch is an underhand and it lobs up in the air. It has to be between 6 and 12 feet, and then it lands on a plywood plate, and that's a strike. If it doesn't hit the plate, it's not a strike. It's different than fastball, which I played as a kid, and it was pretty obvious whether something's a strike or a ball just based on where it's coming at you. And it was pretty easy to figure out what I should swing at. And when you're swinging at the ball, it's all coming from generally the same direction. Easy to hit. I got very good at it as a child. Then I didn't play baseball or softball for like 25 years. Suddenly I'm doing this. And it's a hitting game. Nobody strikes out. Nobody really walks. You just wait for a proper pitch to come along. You swing at it and you make a hit and you run to your base. Well, I just couldn't, for the years and years that I was playing, become a solid hitter. And we were about to play our final tournament this year. And one of the guys on the team said, let's go out and play and let's get some batting practice. Let's just go out on a Thursday night. We had a Friday night game and we'll just bat and do a bunch of stuff. And it was fun. And so I'm up there and the pitcher says to me, Chris, remember, keep your swing level and keep your shoulder down. And I thought, oh, yeah, he'd been telling me this for a while. Fix my swing. And he also said to me, second piece of advice, make sure you only swing at strikes. If it's going to be a ball, don't swing. So it gave me a low-stress opportunity to practice pitch selection, swinging only at those pitches that would legitimately hit a ball, and swinging properly, which I had known all those years that I should be doing, and I wasn't doing it. And once I practiced for about 20 minutes in a low-pressure situation, everything was going out in the center field, hitting them nice and far, and it made the difference. And it occurred to me, Mike, that we teach hypnosis and we bring people into Toronto. And sometimes we bring people in who have been studying hypnosis for 15, 20 years.
True.
And they're still reading scripts at people, and they still don't feel confident at doing hypnosis wonderfully. And once you learn the one or two things that makes the difference, suddenly your results are better and it becomes easy.
Very good, very strong. So, we're going to go out with the music. We're going to go out with the National Steel Ukulele. But first, we want to say to you, thanks for listening or watching Brain Software episode 238.
Thanks again. And good night.
Here.
Okay, so now.
I got a new song.
All right.
Here we are. Here, you don't
Let's
know this,
do it.
do you?
All right.
We got on the sloop, John Beatty, Chris Thompson and me. Around Minden town we did roam. got into a fight. Neck cranked a bunch of guys. They're all in the hospital, so we're just gonna go home. It's so easy.